Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cron and Yote Show presented by Cronyo Media. As you'll notice right away, much like I said last week, we're missing Dakota today, which is fine. He had work engagements that he had to do, and we will never fault a man for that. Yoder, enter stage right.
Hello, everybody. Cron, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How's it going? How are you? Great. That's good. It's good to hear.
Apologize to everyone's ears.
Am I loud? Am I
It
still
was
loud?
it was a little loud, but you also had the mic about as close to
My
your
bad.
throat as
Is this
Derrick
better?
Henry.
Is this better?
Yeah, it's better. Okay. So briefly to recap on our last episode, we introduced a new co-host in Dakota, and we talked about everything that we have missed since we had a hiatus. A lot of things have happened in both of our lives here that have taken us away from this, but we always want to get back into it. So we're here. We're back.
Yeah.
Better than
things
ever.
really haven't been the same since the incident. God dang it, dude. I thought I was going to be able to get through that. I thought I was going to be able to get through that. I literally immediately started laughing. I'm sorry. I ruined it. It's okay. All right. Yeah.
So, one thing that we got to talk about, our teams just played each other on Thursday night. And we won't spend too much time on it, but let's talk a little bit about what happened.
Okay, well, the game, so it ended up getting called off. It never occurred, and I think the NFL has decided it's just going to not count towards either team's record.
So what really happened was both our offenses struggled, and Will Levis got introduced to one of the best defense lines in the league and was not having a great time. But he still didn't look bad.
No, it didn't really seem like he was having a bad time either, right? He took, was it 4 sacks, which is, he's still out of Malik Willis and Marcus Mariota. He's still taken less sacks in his first 2 career games than both of those guys. Actually, I think he's tied with Malik, because I think Mariota had something like 9 sacks. He took 7 against Baltimore or something crazy like that. But no, I mean, he looked comfortable in the pocket. He made some bad decisions like that. Just looking over some film, like he's looking at wide open receivers, but looking them off to throw deep to D-Hop. I think there's some things he's got to clean up. But overall, he looked kind of comfortable, was making throws while about to get annihilated by TJ Watt. Also, I think right tackle Dylan Radins deserves some respect. He only gave up 3 pressures all night. He was matched up on TJ Watt almost every single play. So big props to him. But I think, yeah, the Steelers defense just too good. Steelers offense just whatever it is. No matter
just
what.
Good enough.
Just good enough. That team's 5-3. It's a good football team. No shame in losing.
Just good enough. It's like the old Ravens, like the old Ravens, where the quarterback Trent Dilfer would ask Ray Lewis, "How many touchdowns do we have to score?" And Ray Lewis would say something like 2, because we're going to hold them to 1, or something like that, and they would go out and do it. But like I said, if we spend too much time talking about that, we're both going to go into a hole that we don't want to go into. So we'll move on to the MLB. It's over. The Texas Rangers are the World Series champions. Congratulations to them. Your boy finally has a ring. He's finally got a ring.
You mean Max?
Yes, sir.
He's got a second ring. Yeah. He won with that 2019. He's got 2. He's got 1 in each league now. So he's a bona fide Hall of Famer. He has cemented his legacy, even though he stunk when he got on the mound in the World Series. Overall, great career. I think he's got a couple years left. But yeah, congrats to Texas. That's all I really got to say about it. I think Arizona was doomed from the beginning.
Yeah. So tell me from your baseball opinion, because you played way longer than I. What do you think went wrong for the Diamondbacks? What caused them to implode like they did?
I don't think anything necessarily went wrong. I just think that their juice ran out. When you're relying kind of on a top heavy offense, and I don't want to say top heavy because it's not like Carroll and Thomas are 1-2. I mean top heavy as in your best players are the ones putting up the production, which is ultimately what happened in Philadelphia as well. I think they just ran into a team that had 6, 7 deep lineup that you couldn't pitch to. I had real concerns with Texas going into the playoffs because their bullpen was not very good. And it didn't have to be really good in these playoffs, even though it was. I just think that they ran into the wrong team at the wrong stage of the playoffs. I think if this was around earlier and they played in the same, league, I think it's a closer series than 4-1. But getting 10 runs put up on you in a really key game in the series is deflating, and I think just everything ran out for Arizona at the wrong time. I think they're still a great team. I think they got a bright future, but nothing really stuck out to me as horrible.
I disagree in the aspect that nothing stuck out to me as horrible because they made way too many errors to win a World Series, especially in the elimination game, and you're sitting here going after a ball, which we can't say much because we've both done it in the same aspect, but we were playing slow pitch softball, not in the World Series. You go for a ground ball in the outfield and let it go through your glove all the way to the wall in the World Series and pretty much almost give up an inside the Parker to Jonah Heim. That's a key thing right there that you can't do in the World Series. Not to mention the 10-run game that they had. It was all, I'm pretty sure only 2 or 3 of them were earned because the rest were after an error. I think, from what I recall, Christian Walker bobbled the ball trying to turn a double play from first to second, and then that caused the bases to load, and then grand slam got hit. So little things like that, better than most, compound into things that lose you a World Series. And we'll flip that on a dime and ask you, what do you think went right for the Rangers? I think your main answer is going to be the bullpen, just how well they pitched and all that. Because, I mean, you
Yeah,
can't.
I think if you're talking about in contrast to what could have gone wrong, right? I think obviously the bullpen was really key for him. It stepped up, especially Leclerc coming in and you know, dialing it up as a closer, sometimes even multi-inning saves. That was huge. But I think obviously the offense is the number one thing for Texas. You can't. It doesn't matter how bad your bullpen is. I mean, it does to a degree. If it's giving up 7, 8 runs, obviously that's bad. But when your offense can keep up with anybody, and their offense is pretty stoic as far as personality goes, right? I talked to you about this. This isn't a team that relied on juice. It relied on putting up consistently great at bats, enough to give you 1, 2 runs when you need it the most, right? It's a team that can score when it's down. It's a team that can score when it's up. It's a team that can score and tie a game in clutch situations. And it's a team that can score early and keep scoring, right? It scores under any situation. It's not like a New York Yankees lineup of old where you have to hit a home run. You're not putting up doubles and base hits that you're going to lose, right? No, this is a team that can do it all. It didn't really get down on itself very much when it was failing. And so I think, and having a manager in Bruce Bochy is really huge. Someone that's won 3 World Series already that knows, right? You get into this situation, we're seeing this pitcher, this is what we got to do. Just the adjustment to get on top of the Zach Gallen fastballs was huge, right? Swinging 3, 4 balls above it. That's a huge adjustment you don't see a whole lot of unless you have a lot of baseball knowledge and you know a lot of people who have been successful against a pitcher with a lot of ride to his fastball. So those little things like that, making adjustments after getting your offense shut down, coming out the next game and making that key adjustment, that is where Bruce Bochy comes in as a manager and having a great staff. I think overall everything just worked at the right time. And yes, to answer your question, the bullpen was the key because it was the biggest opportunity for failure for the Rangers, and it just never failed for them. So I think it was beautiful all around as a World Series run.
And you'll see on YouTube if you watch, I got a Red Sox cap on. You know I love it for big game Nate Eovaldi. That's my boy right there. So sad to see him go, but I'm very glad he got his second ring and got to pitch in the biggest game of the season. But this is now the end of the MLB season, which leads us to free agency. Give me your quick fire 2 predictions that you think aren't too far fetched for free agency.
So I'm not going to give you free agency because, free agency is a little tough right now at this stage, right this early. I'm going to just give you general offseason predictions. I think Juan Soto is obviously going to be dealt, and it's going to be a huge thing. He's going to go to an American League team. He's going to switch leagues. Whether it's the Yankees or some other team is yet to be seen. I think the Yankees being a front runner suitor is pretty interesting. Now, I think Yamamoto is going to be the talk of the offseason, right? Every single American League East team, except for maybe the Rays and maybe the Orioles, with their cheapskate selves, right? Those teams are in contention for him, and it's going to be an arms race. I think in the AL East, I think a lot of pitchers are going to go there. You've already heard Jordan Montgomery has had preliminary discussions with the Red Sox as well. So there's going to be a few splashes as far as arms go in the American League East. So I'd look out, especially for Yamamoto. He's a guy coming out of Japan, has had a 1.9 something ERA in all his years there, has set plentiful amount of records. And I think just recently won a championship over there, ended a pretty big championship drought that has lasted since the 80s. So if I'm not mistaken, that was his team. So look out for Yamamoto. He's going to earn a lot of money. I'm saying over $25 million a year. If we're looking at the $25 million a year range, we're going to be looking at something like 8-9 years. If you're getting up there in the higher numbers, like the $35-40 million range, which I think might not be reserved for him just yet, I think you'll see a 4 or 5 million or 4 or 5 year deal. So look out for that type of deal for Yamamoto.
Yep, I'm ready for Yamamoto over here. He will end up on an AL East team. They always do. Those elite Japanese pitchers always end up. Seems like they either end up on the Red Sox or the Yankees almost every single time. So that'll be fun when we lose him to the Yankees. So that'll be cool. But we've got to talk about Cody Bellinger might end up being a Yankee, and that might make you very happy because I've been seeing that a lot as Cody Bellinger and Juan Soto to the Yankees, which would probably put you over the moon.
Yeah, I think my priority number one is Juan Soto. I'd give up almost anything for him. I wouldn't give up Jason Dominguez. I think that's about the only prospect. Dominguez and Volpe, only 2 untouchables for me. I think a guy like Spencer Jones could go in a Soto trade. But as far as Bellinger goes, right, he's obviously expressed interest in the Yankees. Bellinger's an interesting guy. His strikeout numbers dropped, so obviously his batting average increased. But I think overall, like we usually think of Bellinger as a power guy, right? A guy with a lot of pop, could play elite defense. He has before. He's won an MVP, but those power numbers have gone down. And as a Yankee, left-handed bat, you got to have the power. That's why would they bring you in?
Not
So
really.
obviously it's with his dad having played for the Yankees, Clay Bellinger. And him growing up in the Yankees clubhouse, it'd be a sweet moment. But we've seen how those type of sweet moments have gone before with a guy like Joey Gallo or other similar guys. So I think overall it would be cool as long as they're not overpaying for Bellinger. That'd be nice.
I think my 2 quick fire predictions are Shohei to the Dodgers, which is probably set in stone, and Yamamoto to the Red Sox, which is wishful thinking. On to the NBA, where we have to talk about an alien. 2 aliens, actually. One alien plays for your team, one alien plays for my team. And we are both very happy with the way that our aliens are performing at this moment in time. I think these two might end up having a nice little battle all season long for Defensive Player of the Year off of strictly block numbers alone, which seems to be all the depoy is anymore, is whoever leads the league in blocks or steals. So those two players, if you haven't gathered by now to our listeners, is that Victor Wembanyama fella and Chet Holmgren. Victor Wembanyama stands about 7'5". I think he's 220, 230, or is he lighter than that?
Oh, maybe max.
Yeah. So
He's put on some
Slender
weight,
Man.
though.
By the way, elite Halloween costume choice for him being Slender Man.
Absolutely. I mean, he had to go with it. If he didn't, it'd be a crime.
So he's had 5 blocks, I think right now is his high in the game. And I think in that same game, he also had 38 points and 10 or 11 rebounds, I believe, and 5 or 6 assists.
Crazy.
So he went full this is my team mode. Chet, he had a game earlier in the season where he had, I think, 21 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 blocks. So those two are definitely putting it on people when it comes to the defensive side of the basketball. When you're that tall, all you have to do is be close and put your hands up and you're going to block shots. So I'm super excited about the Thunder. You can see all the guys, like even Steve Kerr gave an interview talking about how the Thunder are on their way up and how well they're coached under Mark. And it is a beautiful time to be a Thunder fan because there is no expectations for us right now. We still have 7-8 years worth of double first round picks to play with. So we have plenty of time, and one of the greatest general managers in basketball history, Sam Presti, and we are on the come up. It is a wonderful time to be a Thunder fan, and I'm super excited. Probably likewise for you with the Spurs, except for you guys probably aren't as close as the Thunder are right now. You still need a couple players.
I think if you're looking at the Spurs, you're seeing a couple different. This is like a Jekyll and Hyde type of thing right now, right? You've got a team that goes out and sweeps the Suns, and then a team that loses by 46 to the Clippers and loses by the same amount to the Pacers. So I think there are certain offenses, certain type of offenses that just don't work against the Spurs defense. So that obviously, if you want to be a championship team, you can't
figure it out.
Yeah, you can't have an entire series, where you're depending on a certain offense not being run. And so, I think it's interesting. You've got Wemby. He's a guy that can guard on the perimeter and he can guard in the paint pretty well. I think it just depends on, whether your lineup's small or big. If your lineup's small, you're probably put him inside, right? And let him get those blocks and let him protect the paint. If you got a lineup that's big, you don't want him to go in against those guys because he's just not physical. You know what I'm saying? So, and you want him to get out on perimeter shooters like KD, and you've already seen that matchup. For the Spurs, we're in the exact same position as far as future potential for growth as the Thunder are. Multiple first-round picks over the next 9 years, and only more to come. Very young team, youngest team in the league, I believe, which is a surprise because if you remember the Spurs days of old in the 2010s, it was never anything but the oldest team in the league. So it's exciting. Wemby only being 19, and if he, starts going on a run here where he gets himself up to the upper 20s points per game, he's a front runner for MVP at that point, because nobody's going to be a depoy and top 15 scorer in the league and not be an MVP front runner, in my opinion. And he's obviously the leader for Rookie of the Year kind of stuff. So it's fun, absolutely. I'm going to need Pop to install a defensive system that's easily translatable across different types of opponents, but it's a young squad. They're pretty small overall outside of Wemby, so which is weird to see from a San Antonio team, but yeah, it's an exciting time. I'm excited for the future.
So I'll ask you a question, which you can then flip around and ask me. what do you think the Spurs win total will be this year, and do you think they make the playoffs?
I think they make the play in, and I think in the West, right, we got 82 games. I think you got to win 38 games to get into the play in realistically, and I think they do just that. I think they win 38, 39 games. Maybe a 10 seed, 9 seed. I think the division's really poor outside of Dallas. So I think they finished second in the division, just under 500. They make the play in, they don't make the playoff. What do you think about your Thunder? They had a pretty good shot at the play in last year, no?
We did make the play in last year.
Okay.
I think we straight up make the playoffs this year, but I think we still have to play the play in because I think we're going to be a 7 or 8 seed. Um, but hope the wishful nature of my thinking is I hope that we make it into the 6 or the 5 seed so we don't have to play in the play in. I say the Thunder shouldn't have a problem as long as we keep the chemistry up and everyone stays healthy. I think we can win 50 games. So that's my bold prediction for the Thunder. I don't
Yeah,
think we'll make
when
it.
you have Shea, right? The Spurs' biggest problem is they don't have someone like SGA. Is it Shy or is it
It's
Shea?
Shea.
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 Okay, because I've heard both, but
Yeah.
they don't really. I mean, outside of Keldon
That
Johnson,
is my brother through the Lord right there, Shea Gilgis Alexander.
so Shea, I mean, he's a guy that can absolutely take over a game, and the guy for the Spurs outside of Wemby would be Keldon. They just don't have Keldon consistently putting up numbers like Shea does. So obviously, I think that's the difference between that could be a difference between 12 games, you know. So I think your prediction's absolutely right. And plus, you've got more around him. It's not just Shea.
The
So
Thunder are pretty deep. Our rookie's
Mhm.
Casey Wallace. He's been playing really well. He comes in, gets 3, 4 steals every time he comes in. He's a really good shooter, and he plays hard on defense. We still have Isaiah Joe. We have Davis Bertans that are still amazing 3-point shooters. We still have Lindy Waters to come in and give us a spark off the bench if we need it for 3-pointers. We're pretty deep. We've got all the rookies that we had last year that they developed nicely, and they're still getting quality minutes, and they're producing with their quality minutes. We even have a veteran. I never remember his name because it's difficult to pronounce, but we got a guy from overseas, and he's an older point guard, kind of like a Facundo Campazzo type that likes to do all the little twirly passes and stuff. He's pretty good whenever he gets to come in, but he's still kind of figuring out his role on the team. So we'll see how it goes for him. Far too early. Finals prediction. Who do you think wins it all, or who do you think meets in the finals? Far too early, so don't be scared to be wrong.
man, so I mean, Dallas and Denver obviously have looked really good. I think those are the two best teams in the West right now. It's hard to argue with Luca. Um, the
It's
East is a
hard to
little more
argue with
difficult.
Jokic. Imagine how
Exactly.
imagine how hard the league would have to fight to beat the Nuggets if Jokic actually came in every day and loved his job.
I think it almost helps him that he doesn't like his job, you know, just that laid back nature, right? He doesn't get too low, doesn't get too high, right? Being able to just be consistent. Like if you're just jacking up shots that have a 20% probability rating in NBA 2K and you're draining them every time, you know, like I mean, I you have to be doing something right. So maybe it's helping him a little bit. Um, but I think outside of those two teams, I can't. I mean, the Suns obviously they've always got a shot. They looked a little rough down the stretch against San Antonio. Um, but I think once they get Beal back, he'll be a pretty nice. You know, he's not going to take over the game anymore for him like he used to down in Washington. But that's a nice team. I'm going to say Denver again makes it. I mean, it's hard not to. They didn't lose much, if anything at all. Out of the East, that's a little tougher question. I think Boston's looking really good. And I think we mentioned last week, right? Porzingis being there is huge for them. That's an added element they haven't had before. I don't think they're
Mm-hmm.
clutch. I don't think they're getting it done in crunch time. I got to go with Milwaukee again. I mean, Giannis, hard to stop, hard to game plan around. So, yeah, I got Milwaukee and Denver. At that point, it's a toss-up for
Oh,
me.
you're forgetting the most important part about Milwaukee.
What's that? They got
Now,
Dame time.
yeah,
They
now
got they
not
got
only
Dame
do you
time.
have to worry
Mm-hmm.
about Giannis dunking on you without even walking past, he's dunked on you. Now
Mm-hmm.
you got to worry about 48-foot 3-point shooting Damian Lillard just because. And it's worked out
Yeah.
well for him so far. Don't forget they still got Brook Lopez to guard the paint, and they got Chris Middleton on the wing for him, along with no longer Grayson Allen. I'm actually not sure who plays the 2 spot for him, but I'd have to get more in depth with that. But they're definitely a team that's good on defense. Not so much as far as Middleton anymore. He used to be a lockdown defender. He's kind of iffy on it now. Dame has never been there for defense. He is not a defensive point guard. That's where Giannis and Brook Lopez come into play. Those are your 2 defensive guys. Those are your brick shit houses on defense. So I believe my finals prediction, non-biasedly, I won't pick the Thunder because I'm not naive. I believe it will probably be, well, we're forgetting about one team. We actually need to address this before we make our predictions. There was a
Yes.
trade.
Yes.
There was a trade, a big
Mm-hmm.
trade, and maybe not so smart of a trade. But it's the Clippers. When have they ever done anything smart? The Clippers have acquired James Harden for a mess of players, a mess of picks, and this is it because they have to try to win now. They're going to be in salary cap purgatory for the rest of eternity if they do not do something with this lineup. Even if they do something with this lineup, it's not going to get them out of it. It'll just make it worth it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. We don't need to touch on it too much because we don't need to give the Clippers that much airtime. They're getting plenty of it right now, anyways. But I believe I don't think you can count out the Heat either in the East. The Heat have been making runs, legendary style runs. I'm dark horsing it, man. I'm going Nuggets and Heat again.
Interesting. I wonder in basketball, what's the rate of like the comparison to Super Bowl hangover, right? You're the second, you finish runner up in the Super Bowl, you don't make the playoffs the next year, right? It's easier to make the playoffs in the NBA, obviously. Um, but I wonder what that type of rate is because, obviously you have the Spurs in 13, they lose, they come back and they dominate the playoffs. Okay. Um, like what other teams have lost the championship and then come back and just utterly dominated and made that type of fantastic run? I wonder. That's probably not something we can look up right now so quickly.
The Heat,
But
because they lost to the Spurs and came back the next year and won the championship.
did they in 2015? They won it. I thought no, that team was broken up by the Spurs in 14. It was the other way around. Spurs lost in 13 on the
No, no,
Ray
no.
Allen just
Okay, then
shot
it was the when they
when they lost
lost
to
to Dallas.
Dallas. Yep,
Yeah,
it was
they
12 to
came back the
13.
next year and won.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Shout
I mean,
out
I
my
guess
boy Dirt.
it's possible. Anything's possible with Coach Spoelstra. It's a well-run team. Jimmy Butler as well. Overall,
Tonight
a team
will
that
be
can
the
get things
night that
done.
I will fall for you.
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler.
exactly. So, um, I don't hate the pick. I just don't think it's right. But I don't know as much about basketball as you do, so that's tough. Um,
So we're gonna start this next segment unless you have a definitive finals pick you want to make real quick.
Denver. I
Okay.
think Denver wins it again. Yeah.
So we're gonna start this next segment, the NFL. Actually, you know what? It'll take a brief minute. We're gonna do a couple things here. For one, I'm going to do the motorsports part of this, where I basically just tell you one thing, motorsports, and tell you to check out Fuel Injected. This is a guy right here, Ryan Blaney. That is your
The
2020.
widest, possibly the widest name possible as well.
That guy
Right,
right
Blaney.
there is your 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion.
Congratulations,
Also,
Ryan Baloney.
in the Truck Series, you had Ben Rhodes for Ford that won it, and
What
then
a
you had
name.
and then you had Cole
Rhodes,
Custer.
Ben Rhodes,
Cole Custer
General
was the
Custer in here too.
Xfinity champion. So
Incredible.
big shout out to Ford. You're a big Ford guy now. I've always been a big Ford guy.
Old Ranger.
Ford clean sweeped the NASCAR championships. All three cars were Fords. But anyways, if you want to know more about NASCAR, we'll be doing an episode when I get back from vacation, because I will be going on vacation tomorrow for 2 weeks, and you're going on vacation for a week.
Yeah, I'm here on the verge of 26 straight hours of wakey time. Wakey eggs and bakey at 6:30 tomorrow morning. I don't get to nappy until at least 9 o'clock the next day. So it's gonna be nice. 12-hour road trip with a 4-month-old from Pennsylvania to Tennessee. So we'll see how this goes.
That's why we will
Yeah.
move on to the next segment, because much like you, I have to be up early as well, just without the 4-month-old and the wife.
Congratulations on not having a wife. Must really suck for you.
So Zach Wilson sucks.
Yes, all right.
As you can
So
see,
we
we're
don't
on to the
need to like bring
NFL.
up things that are so obvious, like at least make people think a little bit.
So Zach Wilson's
You know?
kind of good.
No. We don't need to lie either. We need to make borderline predictions. Right? Like,
So
will Zach Wilson start in the XFL next year is a completely legitimate question. Actually, is it
will
still
he
the
be the
XFL?
Toronto Argonauts starting quarterback next year?
So the XFL and the USFL are merging. And they're merging into a new name, I thought, like a completely new, because I don't think there's a surviving entity. I think
I
there's
don't
just
know,
a new
because
one.
what I figured they would do, because I think there's only 8 USFL teams and 8 XFL teams. So
Mm-hmm.
I figured it would be like an AFC, NFC, and they would just create like an interleague, and they
Kind of
play
like
each
the
other.
AFL, NFL when those two
Yeah.
leagues merged.
And
Yeah.
then the winner of both leagues plays the winner of the other, and that's their Super Bowl. That's how I would have done it. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens, because The Rock's got a
I
lot more
think the
money than I
trouble
do.
with that is that the USFL is so clearly worse, right? Like it's clearly a lower quality league.
Get better, kids.
So I don't know.
Because now they've got a chance to draft the same players that are going into the XFL, because now instead of one pool for each, you've got one pool for the whole thing.
Well, that's if they don't switch the roster.
Again,
That's only if they have the
again,
draft.
you know what I say they do?
What, Eddie?
Clean out every single team, keep them with
Okay.
the same coach and GM, and
Okay.
then fantasy draft.
Ooh. So what are the fantasies?
Who can win the Super Bowl the fastest?
Super Bowl.
Yeah, they got to call it something. I don't know what you're gonna call it for the kind of Super Bowl.
What's your fantasy?
What do you mean by that?
What's you just gotta say it. Come out straight out and say it. What's your biggest fan? What's your fantasy?
Cowbish.
Mine's Patrick Mahomes, Kenneth Walker the third, Jerome Ford. Pat's on a bye this week, by the way. So
I haven't even. So you're gonna see live reactions right now. In the pay-in league where I am on the verge of hundreds of dollars, I am 7-2.
Ooh.
Yeah. Fantasy. My fantasy team is Josh Allen, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Lane Thomas, Josh Jacobs, and Nick Folk is my kicker, and my defense is a revolving door. Bro, that team would dumpster yours every single week of it.
What were you
Bro, your
sharing?
beef is with Dakota, not me.
Are we sharing fantasy teams right now?
You literally just asked me to do it, but we're on to the next part.
No, I was making a joke. All right.
Okay, whatever.
God.
Anyways,
Speaking of revolving doors, the Tennessee Titans defensive line.
there was a
That's
very
all.
active NFL trade deadline this year. Very active. I believe there was 8 or 9 deals made on deadline day.
Indeed.
Some confusing ones made.
Yeah.
And some not so confusing ones. Such as Montez Sweat being dealt to the Bears. So he goes from a bad team to a worse team. And then signs a $100 million extension with said worse team. Which baffled me a little bit.
Yeah.
You've got the no-brainers like the 49ers having a chance to trade for Chase Young, absolutely taking it, which is terrifying. So that'll be fun to go against. But we've already had to go against them this year. So whoever else has to go against them, have fun. What else were some of the trade deadline deals? You guys made the buyer trade. Technically, that was
yeah, we kind of talked about that last week too. We've had our discussions on that.
Yeah, you don't want to get back into the sadness of that.
No, I don't want to be sad. No, but Philly fans are getting on him about his performance. Which, I mean, did they not do their due diligence when they were scouting him?
I think
he's old.
What has the potential to possibly be the best acquisition right now after last week was the Vikings trading for Josh Dobbs. That freaking astronaut that doesn't need a space helmet because of the size of his actual head, that guy is turning out to be quite the baller, which is insane to me. Obviously, there's no way you can doubt this dude's intelligence. He is a freaking rocket scientist that literally is prepping a team to orbit Mars. I don't know if you knew that or not, but he is prepping a team to orbit Mars. So, you can't be dumb to do that.
No, I mean, you think about it, though, he's stimulating his brain daily. It just helps him in football. Helps him even more.
He's real intelligent and can pick up on the plays very quickly. Obviously, that shows when you have 3 days to learn an offense and you lead a comeback win.
Well, think about this too, right? Like Kevin O'Connell was talking about how he was basically translating the plays for him. You only get until the clock is at 15 seconds. Once the clock hits 15 seconds, your mic's shut off. Can't hear anything as a quarterback anymore, right? And so what the coach is doing in a matter of 10 seconds, whenever there's 25 seconds on the game clock, in a matter of 10 seconds, he's telling him what the play language is to tell the entire team, and then telling him what that language means. He's getting it, and then has 15 seconds to process all of it, look at the defense, run the play, and he did it effectively. That's insane, right? For anybody.
That's elite level intelligence that you could only get if your head looks like you don't need a real space helmet.
Yeah.
I've always loved Josh Dobbs. I just never thought he was really that good because he sat on our bench for so long. Don't get me wrong. Right. Josh Dobbs is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He is a very elite level backup to have. Someone that can help someone like Mason Rudolph, who's had a helmet smashed over his head and lost brain cells, recuperate his brain cells and understand plays better, because it takes a certain level of intelligence to do what Josh Dobbs does. The ability, like you said, to take something and break it down. You probably got 5 seconds to really process what he just said, 5 seconds to look at the defense, and then 3 seconds to snap the ball and get it off. So the ability to have those quick decisions like that. Obviously, an astronaut has to be quick on his feet because when you're in space, a whole bunch of
Rocket
things can go
scientist.
wrong. Well,
Rocket scientist.
he's an astronaut too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was in that same article where they talked about him leading the Mars mission
Yeah, I
because
knew
he
he
was
worked for
wearing a
NASA.
spacesuit.
Yeah, I knew he was a NASA guy.
Yeah,
Didn't know
big
astronaut was
NASA
on
guy,
his resume.
big
Yeah.
NASA guy.
Hmm.
But anyways, so that was crazy to see him do that with that team. Um, but let's talk about a little bit more to do with the season itself. Um, what do we think? What are your honest thoughts on Josh Allen? Because he's obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but there's a lot of questions about the way that they play every single season, how it always kind of has the same repetition. Is it Josh Allen? Is it coaching? Or is it just kind of one of those deals where a team can get hot like that and then just kind of fizzle out? And that's what they really are? Or what do you think?
It's so weird watching the Bills because you never can pinpoint exactly what's wrong, right? You just know that they are losing, and maybe it's just inability to execute in very key situations. I remember watching him against Tennessee. Obviously those are the games I watch most closely because Tennessee is my team. Watching him play Tennessee last season, game comes down to the wire and he slips and falls on the 1 yard line. Like it's just little things like that where I don't think it's specifically anything wrong. Like you can pinpoint this, go fix it, team's automatically better. It's the same type of thing with the Cowboys, right? Dak Prescott looks like an elite quarterback until it's time to be elite. Whether that time to be elite is in the third quarter on a third quarter drive that stops, that stalls because of a dumb decision. Same thing with Josh Allen, right? Like, his mistakes sort of add up throughout the game. He looks so good, but the little mistakes here and there are not putting his team over the top. Whether it's too much aggressiveness, this is all to say, I think the problem is different in every single game that you can't exactly pinpoint what's going on, right? The team can have a 35-38 loss, but you say, oh, it's the defense. Or the team can put up a stinker like they did this past week. And I think it was this past week, only put up 18 points. You say, oh, it's the offense. What's the offense's deal, right? I just think that all does come down to coaching, right? Teams that are, or coaches that are well prepared for key situations, their teams are well prepared for key situations. I don't think the Bills are. Um, I think the furthest the Bills can go would be a conference championship game. Just because I don't think they know how to win when it matters the most. That doesn't mean they're a bad team. I just don't think they can ever predict what their problem is going to be in a game and fix it on the fly. You know, I think ultimately, right? They have a great coach, they have a great quarterback, they have a great receiver core, they have a great defense, they have a great everything. They just never know what's coming, whether it's unlucky or just not being able to coach the right way in key situations. I couldn't tell you what's wrong with them.
I think it's interesting for sure. I also had a question because I haven't seen anything about it. Is Traylon Burks okay? I haven't seen anything since the.
Yeah, so Traylon Burks is fine. I think he's probably gonna be out this week, maybe a multi-week injury, and I think that's just because of Mike Vrabel's generally overcautious nature regarding concussions. Just because he clears protocol doesn't mean he's going to play. You've seen players come out of protocol within 3-4 days, like Brock Purdy. Um, Vrabel's going to look at that and say, I don't care. I don't want my player getting Swiss cheese brain. You're going to sit for the next 2 weeks. Traylon went unconscious on that, and you called it. You said, I think it was his head. I thought it was his collarbone because just the way he fell. Scary moment. He was unconscious for a few seconds. Saw the neurologist, the neurosurgeon. Said he was fine. He was up, responsive. He had a great conversation with Mike Vrabel. He's okay. I think his career should be over, but that's getting into the whole Tua type of controversy where is it the player's decision or is it somebody else's decision to keep playing? Who knows?
Yeah, I just like I said, I saw right away when he hit the ground. It looked like his hands were doing some kind of posturing. So that's how I knew it was his head. Um, but glad he's okay is the best part.
Right.
But anyways, on to the next part. What do we think? The Bengals, they flipped it around, man. They started off, everyone's like, you can't, you gave Joe Burrow all that money and he sucks. And now look at him. They're one of the better teams in the league, just like that, at the flip of a switch. I believe that's major credit to the improvements they've made on defense, as well as the offensive line. Also bunched with Zach Taylor just being a good coach and Joe Burrow being Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's him. That's why he made all that money, because he's him.
Yeah, I think so. Now that you're talking about the Bengals and what they're doing right, that takes me back to the Bills conversation. Somebody pointed out that the Bills play too much hero ball, where everyone's trying to be a hero on every single play, when sometimes you just need to find that guy that's clicking that day. I think that's exactly what the Bengals have been doing. I have T. Higgins on my fantasy team. I was going to drop him this week. He goes out and puts up a T. Higgins type of day, and I think that's just a testament to this team's ability to turn things around. Great coaching. Obviously, they have a defensive coordinator that's going to be a head coach within the next couple years. They've been able to play complementary football and stick together as a locker room, and I hate it because I hate the Bengals. Just going to come right out and say it, but you know, I was never worried about Joe Burrow. He was dealing with the injury to start the offseason, or to start the season. It was always known that first few weeks were going to be shaky for him coming back. I think he's found his footing and his confidence. He's found the ability to not just go to Jamar. He's found T. Higgins. He's found Joe Mixon in the passing game again. So I think overall, they just made adjustments like good football teams do. I've always said, right, great football teams are the ones that can make adjustments after week 7, week 8, and start finding a nice little run in the middle of the season. That's exactly what the Bengals are doing, winning the boring games, and they're winning them well. So
What's been a pleasant surprise for the Titans this year has been the play that they've gotten out of Nick Folk, meaning they found a kicker who doesn't shank it. And speaking of shank it,
yes,
we have a sponsorship partnership with Shank It Golf. So go to shankitgolf.com. If, like Yoder said last week, if you're Tiger Woods, Shank It Golf's for you. If you're us in golf, Shank It Golf is for you. If you're blind and go up there and hit the ball better than we both could ever think about hitting it, Shank It Golf is for you. Go to shankitgolf.com, find whatever you want, go to the checkout, use code CronYoMedia at checkout for 15% off. And we've also spoken about how we both have to be up early. Wouldn't it be nice if there was some kind of energy supplement that we could take in the morning to give us all the energy we needed?
yeah, I would like clean, good energy in the morning. It would be wonderful. What have you got for me?
Dubby.
Okay.
Dubby.gg. Go to dubby.gg. Use code CronyoMedia at checkout for 10% off all your energy supplement needs. But back to Nick Folk.
Yeah, so hold on. I want to go back to Dubby.
Okay.
You said Dubby.gg. Does that mean it's just a gamer supplement, or is this
Absolutely
for
not.
anybody? Okay.
Dubby is for anybody that needs the energy. They have pretty good flavors. They've got a few, I will admit, I am an honest reviewer. They've got a few that I've tried that I was not crazy about, but
I
they'll
probably would
definitely
love
be
them.
somebody's cup of tea. Because him and I's flavor palettes do not usually match. So I think I had a passion fruit one, like a dragon. No, it was dragon fruit.
Oh, I love dragon fruit.
And it was okay, but it's not my thing. I had a
That's my
green
thing.
apple one from them. It was pretty
Ooh, I
good.
love green apple.
The green
Yeah.
apple one's pretty good.
Yeah,
So go to
I love
Dubby.
companies. Yeah, I love these companies coming out with creative energy supplements that are clean and good energy and that are not just for gaming or not just for sports or not just for race car drivers, right? It's for everybody, right? I love these type of supplements.
Yeah. Go to dubby.gg. Use code Cronio Media at checkout for 10% off. Shank It Golf, Cronio Media at checkout, 15% off.
And how do you
But
spell
anyways,
W?
dubby.gg.
Awesome. All right.
But anyways, back to Nick Folk. He has been one of the better kickers in the league this year. He is not shanking it. He does not need Shank It Golf.
Yes, I'm sure. Though I'm sure in his golf game he would, if he had a golf game, he would be using Shank It Golf.
100%.
Honestly.
Everyone should be using Shank It Golf.
Mm-hmm.
We got to think about this because we're getting close to wrapping this thing up here. So, playoff
I
predictions.
love that point. And you're just getting real close to wrapping it up.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the
You
best. That's the
haven't
best
done
part of
that
it.
in a while.
No. What are you talking about? What do you mean? Who? What? What is this? Well, I don't know what
You
you're
can't.
referring to.
He's two floors above you, so you can't hear him. But he's up
Yeah,
there. That's what I
a
mean.
little wham wham, a little wham wham up there. That's what I call him.
But we're gonna be joined by a guest speaker here, Bobby Labonte, and he's gonna help us make our playoff.
What is he, like a 4-time champion that we got in the building right here?
One time.
One? Oh, I'm thinking of his thinking of his
Hey,
brother or whatever, Terry.
your aunt might not like this one, but how about this guy?
Is that Stony Tewart?
It's Stoney Stewart, 3-time Cup
Nice.
champion, 2-time Cup champion as an owner, so 5-time combined Cup champion. He's going to help
Okay.
us make our picks here for who we think is going to make it to the conference championships, into the Super Bowl, and our Super Bowl winner. We'll do this kind of
Ooh.
quick fire.
Okay. All right. All right. You go for. Okay. So we'll go division by division champion,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll go Super Bowl conference teams, Super Bowl team, Super Bowl champion. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I will call out a division. No arguments, nothing. Just straight fire. I'll say a division. I'll say my pick, and then you say your pick, and we'll move on to the next. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So first, we've got AFC East. Buffalo Bills win the division.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills by. I think that this is going to turn itself out, and the Bills win big.
AFC North, Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are going to do it.
Okay. AFC South, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, there's no question.
Yeah, okay. AFC West. Come on now. Like 10 straight years or something like that. Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no debate.
All right. NFC. NFC East, Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, there's no one in there to compete.
NFC North, one answer, Detroit Lions.
Yep.
NFC South.
That's
That's so
interesting.
tough. Saints. The team with the quarterback.
Saints. We got, what is that one? That's the Saints, the
Saints, Falcons,
Bucks, the
Bucks,
Panthers,
Panthers.
and
Saints, Falcons, Bucks, Panthers.
fuck it, dude. Give me the Bucks.
The Bucks. All right, that's not a bad pick. They got Baker. All right, NFC West. San Francisco 49ers.
San Francisco.
Go Niners. Go Niners. Though I think the Niners have looked a little rough. But I said, okay, sorry. I said no commentary. All right. Let's go to the conference championships. Let's start with the AFC. You go first.
Conference championships and the
just throw
AFC.
seeding out the window. Throw seeding out the window. The two teams you think you could that would make a run and see each other.
In the AFC, I believe. Give me. I think we get a repeat. The repeat of what we got last week. Give me Buffalo and Cincinnati.
Ooh. Okay, I got Cincinnati and Kansas City. That's my pick. All right, NFC. Go ahead. This is a tough one.
NFC. I'm going in my NFC championship game. I'm going San Francisco. Fuck it, me. Nah, I'm not that confident. I'm going San Francisco and Philly again. Fuck, dude.
Okay, I'm going San Francisco and Detroit. Those are my teams making it. Yep. All right, Super Bowl. 2 teams in the Super Bowl. Who you got?
San Francisco and Cincinnati.
Ooh, interesting. I got Kansas City and San Francisco. Again, a rematch. And this time, San Francisco's winning the Super Bowl.
I got Cincy winning it.
Ooh, I don't like Cincy, and I don't think their fans are the most fun people to deal with. They are to me what Philadelphia is to you. I am annoyed with them, and I think not generally bad people outside of football fandom, but inside of football fandom, horrible, brutal people, and I can't cheer for them. So San Francisco.
Well, that's our NFL segment.
Yeah.
So that pretty much wraps it up for today on this episode of the Cron and Yote Show. Again, just to let everyone know, I will be out on vacation for a little bit. As we know here, Yoder will also be gone for a little bit.
Yep, so Dakota's running the show on his own.
We have potentially an opportunity while I'm there to record because Dakota said execute order 66.
Do it.
Dakota said we could use his house to record and we could still do an episode while I'm there. It just all depends on scheduling.
All right.
But that's going to wrap it up for us for today. It's been fun, as always. This is the OG squad, but we are missing Dakota.
Yep.
Don't forget, check out all our other podcasts presented by Cronio Media. You've got Mind Fuel Injected. If it ever comes back, we've got the Sabertooth Savant. And then we have the No Place Like Omaha boys, Josh, Mikey, and Nick.
All your college baseball news.
Yeah, all your college baseball news, interviews with exclusive interviews with travel ball players, stuff like that. And go check them out. Those
travel ball players. You got college coaches too. You got guys like that.
Yeah, they've got an actually pretty good interview that they had lined up with a former top 10 recruit from the state of Kansas. So check them out, and don't forget Shank It Golf, Cronio Media at checkout, 15%, W.GG, 10% at checkout with that same code of Cronio Media. I am Ethan, also known as Cron. This is Britain, also known as Yote, and we will see you tomorrow night.
Play the outro music.
Thank you guys for watching.